I appreciate you guys getting the memo to keep the podium half as tall as last year. Good work. It's going to be a little awkward if they videoed it and they couldn't see my face. So I appreciate that. I had a ton of people ask me, did you prepare for your speech? Did you write it down? What'd you write down? I didn't write a single thing down. Because I didn't want to come up here and speak to everyone off of a piece of paper. I wanted it to come from the heart. And then I also thought, how do you follow up Aaron Martens and Gerald Swindle? Polar opposites. Okay. And then I also thought, how do you go from a kid that's 8 years old that decides he wants to fish for a living and try to inspire and speak to the guys that you read about and that you looked up to your entire life, right? The guys that you read in the magazines and said, I want to be as good as that guy. How do you inspire those guys? How do you inspire the high school and the youth kids? How do you inspire the college kid that's 19 that's the paper boy now? I didn't know that was his nickname, but it's solid. He always delivers.
Yeah, that's what he says.
I asked him if he was nervous about this week, and he said, nah.
Just delivered the paper.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, great. We got another Jordan Lee. Cool. I don't have to catch 15 fish in the Classic. I only need 12. Let's go. I'll catch 3 on day 1, 4 on day 2, and 5 on day 3, and call it good. That's the program I'm running this week, so thanks. But I think the most important thing is what B.A.S.S has done. Right? I was a kid from Idaho. Some of you still may not know where that's at, because I get it all the time. People refer to it as Indiana, Ohio. It's Idaho. It's 5 hours from Seattle. Most of you probably know where that's at. It's 2 hours from Canada. Grew up in Coeur d'Alene. Right, we're some of the world's best trout fishing. Also some of the world's best bass fishing, we just don't get talked about, right? And I didn't know even a single thing about tournament bass fishing when I was growing up. My mom raised me, that's here tonight. I'm not gonna get into that yet, because I'll start choking up before I even get through my speech. So, she was there super early on. And I always got to tell this one story, so she's already saying, oh, geez. One of my biggest pet peeves, and I know a bunch of you other anglers have heard this, is I would be a professional if I had a ton of money and if everybody paid for it. If I had a bunch of money, I would fish professionally. I'm here to tell you, and I know a bunch of you are, that doesn't matter, right? I mean, you look at guys even like Skeet. He was sleeping in a van at one point. Him and Kim were sleeping in a van. I saw pictures of it, right? I was the bass nerd, the bass geek that Dave was talking about. I didn't have a picture of Skeet in my locker, but from Canada, it's completely different. But you said it, not me. We were living in an Airstream trailer, okay? You guys know what an Airstream trailer is. That was our house. And we were living on her friend's property, and I can remember her saying, this is gonna make her upset because she doesn't like this word, but she told me that I couldn't wipe my butt with 2 squares of toilet paper because my butt was only big enough for 1. Okay? Yeah, we were rich. Guess what? We upgraded from that. We got a house with an outhouse. Okay? We had to walk outside to pee and to do the other. Okay? Doesn't matter how much money you have. B.A.S.S has built the platform for a kid like me at 8 years old when I was introduced to it by a guy that I did not know. It was a family friend that introduced me to the sport of fishing. Now, I had always loved fishing, right? My mom took me hiking into mountain lakes. That was her motivator, right? I was not a very good kid, so I'm told, I don't remember. But I would scream all the way to the trail. And then when we got there, her motivator was, if you want to fish, you have to walk all the way up there. Okay, well, I would walk all the way up there, and then I would fall asleep walking back down at 2 or 3 years old. 8 years old, I said, the first time I stepped on a skeeter, okay, I thought it was the most beautiful boat ever built. Now, looking back at it, it was the ugliest boat that you guys had ever built at Skeeter. I apologize, but you should know, it was green, purple, and silver. I'm so glad that I've never seen another one of those. But the boat was phenomenal. Okay, and that's what I fell in love with, okay? And I remember catching a 4-pounder that day, and then I joined Casting Kids. And back then, there wasn't high school fishing. There wasn't college fishing. The only option I had was then the Bass Federation, what is now the Bass Nation. I'm finally starting to get that right. I've talked at a couple nation banquets now, and I keep calling it the Federation, and John Stewart gives me this dirty look every single time. It's like, dude, it's the Bass Nation now. Okay, so I fished that, and that was my only option, but I had to wait till I was 16. Okay, and I continued to fish that and fish and fish, and then all of a sudden, I get to the Red River, do my homework. You guys know, in the spring, it's phenomenal. You go in the fall, it sucks. 10 to 12 pounds is good. I keep looking at Google Earth, and I'm looking at Google Earth, and I think, I've got this one place that I'm gonna look at. And for some reason, I had this feeling that said, don't go in there on day one. Wait till the very last day of practice. And I dug my way in. Okay? It was so shallow that when I pulled up to it, I'm looking at my phone, making sure that I'm at the right spot. And it's nothing but hyacinth mats, snakes, spiders. Again, I'm from Idaho. We don't have poisonous snakes. We got a few poisonous spiders, and we definitely don't have crocodiles. So there's no way that a 22-year-old kid from Idaho is about to get in the water to dig himself in here. So the first thing I do is I try to drive the boat in there, right? It's a rental. Thank you, Skeeter, Yamaha. They provided boats for everybody back then. And to speed this up a little bit, I dug my way in there, right? I tried to drive through. It was so thick, hyacinth mats, couldn't get through. And at that time, I'd never even seen hyacinth mats, so I didn't know what they were all about. And I'm up there on the front deck. I'd dig my way through. I'd push a little bit. I'd dig my way through. I'd push a little bit. And I slide in there. That place was McDade. Now there's a 4-foot trench, and you can drive in there on plane. Okay, but that was McDade back then in the fall. And I dug my way in, and my buddy came in there with me, and we looked at each other, and we knew one of us was going to win. Okay, I didn't know if it was going to be me. I didn't know if it was going to be him, and we were fishing against each other. And everything worked out. Right? And then I made my first classic, 2011, New Orleans. Not a single soul in this room knew who I was. Dave didn't know, well, Dave knew who I was because he researched. He used the Google machine, as he calls it. Nobody else knew who I was, right? I was the Federation guy there that qualified and had qualified for the elites. I was there, and this goes out to the other Federation guys, the team championship guys, the college kids that have qualified. You earned your right to be here, right? Every single guy that is fishing this week has earned his right to be here, whether it's through the opens, the elites, whatever it may be, you've earned your right to be here. And that's the mindset that I went into it. And I remember day one, right? Probably the foggiest classic we've ever had on history that I can remember in all 8 of them. Kevin, have there been any more? Any foggier? It was so foggy, and I'm glad Trip let us go. I remember sitting out there, and I'm out there in Catawachi, and I had a terrible practice, right? Day 3, I said, look, I did my homework. They say they dumped a bunch of big Florida strings in here, and there's a bunch of fresh water, and there's grass. I'm gonna go see if I can figure out. Obviously, they live around here. I just gotta figure out what they're doing this week. And I find a few fish, and the water comes up, and everything works out. I'm sitting there day 1, I'm throwing my little crankbait that I bought for $1 in a bargain bin, because I didn't have any sponsors that really paid me any money then. So I got my little $1 crankbait, and I'm throwing it out there. And I hear somebody go, hey, Kevin, you got any? And then at that moment, I could have either completely freaked out, right, and thought, oh my gosh, Kevin Van Dam's fishing next to me. Or what I did is I thought, well, Kevin Van Dam's fishing next to me. I must have found a really good spot. Right, and the fog lifts, and all of a sudden there's Kevin, there's Aaron, right, and there's all these guys, and I had this moment of like, last week I was reading a magazine of like, how do I be as good as these guys? And now all of a sudden I have to beat them, right, or I have to be better than these guys for 3 days. And that was life-changing, right? Now you fast forward 8 years, because my 8th one. I look in here, I know 95% of the people in some form or fashion, right? Some people that I consider great friends, some are family, anglers, sponsors, not even my sponsors, but just people in the industry, okay? Owners of B.A.S.S. That's what it's all about for me to stand up here, okay? And to be able to call the people that I looked up to and built a platform that literally drove my entire life. Okay, when my mom told me I talked about this at AOI, when my mom told me I needed a plan B, just in case plan A, my fishing plan, didn't work out, that I needed a plan B. And I said, why if I'm not gonna fail at plan A? Okay. I went to college. Now I left college for a fishing tournament. I walked out of my calculus class. That's only because we didn't have the platform. Okay, so everyone that's watching, we didn't have the platform to be successful. We didn't have the Lee brothers coming up out of college. We didn't have, there's a lot of guys on the elites that you look at now, Connell, Card, that have fished in college. Okay, so one of the biggest things I wanted to do was talk about and thank B.A.S.S. for not only building a platform that allows us to build dreams, but also a platform that allows us to succeed, okay? And you're affecting hundreds of thousands of people, and even more so now in the direction that we're going and how quickly the sport is growing, right? And if you look at it, our sport in a whole, compared to baseball and football and other sports, is very young. Okay, we're in our infancy, and it's awesome to be a part of that growing. And I'm humbled to be able to stand up here and know all of these people that I look up to and call them friends and family. I thank all of my sponsors, Skeeter, Yamaha, Dave. I met Dave, what did we say? I shouldn't age you. He asked me not to age him. I was 16, right? 14 years ago, I met him. That was all networking, okay? So all the young people, I think B.A.S.S is filming this somewhere, wherever you're at, all the young people that are wanting to know about sponsorships, it's all about being a good person and networking, and then catching bass. That's why we're all here, okay? We're all here because, one, we fell in love with fishing, right? And because we're here to catch bass. I am as guilty as any. I live for the moment. Now, my moment's a little bit shorter than some of you, but that moment that it takes from that bite to register from your fingertips to your brain, okay, there is a moment there that happens. Right? Mine's a little shorter, but that is the moment that I live for, and that's why we're all here this week, and we equally have that moment, okay? You need 15 of those, or 12 if you're Jordan. Okay? I'm gonna get you all night. Only because I love you and it was impressive. Okay, that's a compliment. But everybody has that equal opportunity, like I said. Okay, so when you guys are out there, one thing that I love to do is watch motivational videos and podcasts and things. And one of my favorite ones that I've seen is the 5-second rule. And it's not count up. You can't count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because you can keep going. Okay, you have to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, this sport's all about making decisions, sponsorships, catching them. Whatever it is about making decisions, making the right ones, being a good person. 5-second rule. If any of you guys are out there on the water and you're as confused as I am after the last 4 days and you're trying to figure out what to do, start at 5 and count down and make that decision. Right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. What's the worst that's gonna happen? Right? In the grand scheme of things, to us, because this is so consuming of our lives, it's our dream to win the classic, right? That's everything that we're here for. That's where all of our focus is. The rest of everything else we're doing, tomorrow, I know all of you guys will be as guilty as me of just going through the motions because all you can think about is where your next cast is gonna be on Friday. Okay, you'll do a great job, but you're gonna be going through the motions because your mind's somewhere else. That's the way it should be. Okay, but make those decisions, okay? And you don't know what's gonna happen. Sorry, Jordan, but nobody thought you were gonna win on the last day. I don't even think you did. But everybody has that opportunity, okay? And it's just those split-second decisions. I had so many of them last year that I didn't know what I was gonna do. Right, last day at Mille Lacs, I had one fish at 10:30. But what I tell people all the time is that morning I woke up and I knew that I was gonna catch them. And I have that feeling every once in a while. But I also have feelings when I wake up in the morning that I'm not gonna catch them. And guess what? I'm right 100% of the time. Every single time. Okay, so it's all up here. Everybody's earned their right to be here. Everyone has the mechanical skills, the mental ability to win this event. And so I encourage everybody to, if it takes you 5 seconds to make that decision, if you're second guessing it, count down and make it. Make it happen. And let's make this the best classic to date. So thank you guys. I'm humbled. Thank you to my family. I'm gonna try not to cry here. I was doing really good the whole time. As everyone knows, if you guys have watched any of the classics, I've got crazy amounts of family support. Okay? These people have never missed one yet. Even dating all the way back to like college wrestling days, never missed a college wrestling match. And you've even seen them come out of the woodwork, literally, at Grand Lake. Could not have done this without them. Okay, being a kid from Idaho, I was instilled to follow my dreams. And I'm thankful for that, okay? So I love you guys. Definitely could not do it without Tiffany. Most of you guys know her, my beautiful girlfriend, Tiffany. Yeah, you guys can give her a hand. You can give her a hand. She looks lovely tonight. See, everybody knows how much of a cluster I would be, especially my family. They're like, yeah, the last 30 years, you've been a disaster, but the last 7 with her have been a lot less of a disaster. So, no way that I probably would have ever won an Angler of the Year without her, without my family, my friends, or without the support of my sponsors, B.A.S.S, and the rest of you guys. So thank you, and let's enjoy our night and enjoy the rest of the week.